after the death of longtime Yugoslav leader Josip Broz Tito in 1980. Growing nationalism among the different Yugoslav republics threatened to split the country apart. This process intensified in the mid-1980s with the rise of the Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic. Milosevic caused discontent between Serbians in Bosnia, Croatians in Croatia, and also with their Bosniak and Albanian neighbors.
Bosnia-Herzegovina was part of a country called Yugoslavia, which was made up of 6 different regions, including Serbia, Croatia, and a Muslim region. From 1991, Yugoslavia began to break up. The majority of people living in Bosnia were ethnic Christian Bosnians, including Serbians and Croatians. There was also a significant amount of Bosnian Muslims. Bosnia-Herzegovina declared independence on March 1, 1992. However, the Bosnian Serb population saw their future as being joined with Serbia, now an independent neighboring state. As conflict arose, the Serbs began exterminating the Muslims because of their opposing viewpoints of wanting independence, which in theory put a target on their back.
In early 1995, Bosnian Serb forces led by Slobodan Milosevic advanced in Srebrenica, a town in Bosnia, where they overwhelmed the force of Dutch peacekeeping forces. Serbian forces then separated the Bosniak civilians at Srebrenica, putting the women and girls on buses and sending them to Bosnian territories. Some of the women were sexually assaulted, while the men and boys who remained behind were killed immediately or bused to mass killing sites. Estimates of Bosnian deaths rose to as high as 8,000 people.
In August of 1995, the Serbs refused to accept the UN demand to stop massacring the Bosnian Muslims. NATO joined efforts with Bosnian and Croatian forces for 3 weeks of bombing the Bosnian Serbs. With Serbia's economy crippled by UN trade sanctions, Milosevic agreed to enter negotiations the following October. The U.S.-sponsored peace talks in Dayton, Ohio, in November of 1995 resulted in the creation of a federalized Bosnia, divided between a Croat-Bosniak Federation and a Serb Republic. Throughout the better part of the next 2 decades, the ICTY charged more than 160 individuals of crimes committed during conflict in the former Yugoslavia. Brought before the tribunal in 2002 on charges of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes, Slobodan Milosevic served as his own defense lawyer, but his poor health led to long delays in the trial until he was found dead in his prison cell in 2006. In 2007, the International Court of Justice issued its ruling in a historic civil lawsuit brought by Bosnia against Serbia. Though the court called the massacre at Srebrenica a genocide and said that Serbia could and should have prevented it, the court punished those who committed the genocide.
The Bosnian genocide differs from a war, including a civil war, due to the fact that the Bosnian Serbs advanced on Srebrenica and attacked the UN peacekeepers who were protecting Bosnians who wanted nothing to do with the war. The Bosnian Serbs overwhelmed the UN troops and captured innocent Bosnian Muslim citizens. The Bosnian women and children were raped, sexually assaulted, and treated like sex slaves. The men, on the other hand, were either killed immediately, taken to mass killing sites, or sent to camps in which they would be worked to death and die due to the lack of food. Despite the war that had been going on before in Bosnia, the horrendous acts by the Bosnian Serbs makes people remember the Bosnian conflict as a genocide instead of a war.
The Bosnian genocide not only changed the lives of many people who lived in Yugoslavia, but it also affected Europe and the United Nations action policy in conflicted areas, especially after the lack of reaction and limited help that the rest of Europe and the United Nations gave to the innocent Bosnian people. It is argued that the lack of response by the United Nations and Europe is the reason why the genocide happened, and many historians believe that they could have prevented the genocide from ever happening.
As a global community, we should learn and comprehend that every human being is equal, no matter what ethnicity, race, or religion they are. The world must understand that just because people may not see eye to eye with each other, that one does not have more of a right to live than the other. The global community should unite as one human race and be happy living amongst each other in a very diverse world. Also, countries should most likely avoid conflict at all costs, and developed countries should assist developing countries in need as much as they can. Another concept the global community must learn is that as citizens of a country, think hard and well as to who you elect to have control and power over your country.